So the Democrats and the media really have pretty successfully conflated the Russia meddled in our election with Donald Trump colluded with Russia to meddle in the election. Those are two separate things, but they've done a pretty good job of putting those two things together. So anytime Trump or anybody on the right, points out that there was no Russian collusion, no conspiracy by any American to collude with the Russians to steal an election, they combat it with, how can you say there was no meddling in the election? They did a pretty good job of conflating those two things. So anything that you say against collusion or conspiring, they come back with, you're denying that Russia interfered with our election. Everybody has admitted Russia meddled in our election. Russia's been meddling in our election since the Soviet Union. It's not a new thing. The only thing that's new is that the way they did it. The technology is different. You got Facebook and social media, and it's easier to get the false messages out. So, and really, the Russians only want to cause turmoil in the United States. They don't care which candidate won. They just want it to cause us to be at each other's throats. And this whole conflating of Russia meddling and Russia collusion is exactly what the Russians got more bang for their buck, because the left mainstream media has been covering this breathlessly. I mean, Putin got more out of this. Every time somebody comes on and conflates those two things or tries to still try Trump to colluding with the Russians, Putin is smiling. I mean, he's getting more out of this than the mainstream media has done more to divide us based on this issue, which is exactly what Russia wanted. But anyway, don't be fooled by the two things. Russian collusion, Russia meddling, two different things. They're trying to tie them together. That way, if you fight one, they come back and say, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying they didn't interfere in our election. It's very clever, actually, and they've done a good job of conflating the two things. I watched it today. Adam Schiff didn't say anything about Trump colluding. He's saying Russia did interfere in our election. Trump has admitted that. He said a lot of nations have interfered, China being one of them. Nobody's disputing that. The hoax, when somebody says that the Russian collusion thing was a hoax, they're talking about the collusion part of it, not the meddling. But again, like I said, they have done a good job of putting those two things together. So any argument you make, they can kind of come back on you. Anyway, that's my opinion. Thanks.